Yesterday, 37,000 fans here.
It was cool. I'm sitting in the dugout and I'm like, this is a pretty good crowd here.
It was a playoff game last night, Mendy.
Yes, the countdown.
2-1 to Torrens. Yeah, that's up and away.
With the pitch clock, I'm like, this is great. You know?
Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If you don't feel like the other guy, the other team, the guy on the mound don't feel it, they are feeling it, you know, because we are too, in a good way. Watching in the 8th inning, I don't know, it's 10 o'clock at night and it's freezing cold and we still got 35,000 people. That's pretty incredible. It's a good feeling and that's what you want. People talk about home field advantage. That's what we're talking about right there.
Hey, welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito, Calise. That's Jonathan Barron. And for the first time here at Citi Field this year, we are back with the Mets manager, Carlos Mendoza. A little bit of a different start than last year, right?
Yeah. First of all, nice to be back. Feels really good to be back here.
Nicer room, right?
Yeah.
Same room, but nice accoutrements.
Little upgrade here. I like it. That's what I'm talking about right here.
Spiffed it up for you, Skip.
Yeah.
We're going to put a picture of the three of us right over here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. What took so long? Like, come on, man. All right. I see how it goes. It was definitely a lot different. You know, the home opener last year, I think we got rained out last year.
Yes.
We didn't even show up on the opener. But look, man, coming into the ballpark after what we went through last year, especially towards the end, how electric and packed house and all that, you could just feel it. And it felt the same way coming to the ballpark that day. And then once you get here and the pregame ceremonies and all that, that was pretty impressive. And it was pretty incredible.
Well, you talked about last year, and there are some new faces in this clubhouse now. And down in spring training, we asked you about the team taking on its own personality, and you said it's something that kind of just happens over time. I know we're only a little bit into the season here, but from the manager's seat, what kind of personality so far are you detecting from this clubhouse?
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing, what we're seeing, how the guys are connecting, how they're interacting, and look, it's always great when you're getting results on the field, especially when it's been hard to get the job done. The last couple of games, that's been the case. But like I said, not only the connections and how they're going about their business, but how much they're competing, they're having fun, and that's all you could ask. If we continue to do that, that room is gonna continue to be the strength of our ball club, and that's a good feeling as a manager.
Something I really want to get the inside perspective on and just like how this is being worked on is we're seeing really early in this year how important plate discipline is into this team. And seeing guys like Jose Siri, who's known for having a high strikeout rate, get on base, walking, Pete Alonso really working counts. I mean, that his grand slam, I think, was one of his best at-bats we've seen Pete have. How important is it to work on plate discipline, and how are guys doing that right now?
Yeah, I think credit to starts with the players, but our hitting coaches, our hitting department, preaching, controlling the strike zone. We have to be able to control the strike zone. If they don't want to pitch to you, pass the baton. Trust your teammates. Trust the guy behind you. Because when we do that, when we're creating traffic, we're going to be in a good place. We saw it with Siri, and honestly, that bottom of the lineup. If those guys are on base with what's coming up, with whether it's Lindor, Soto, Pete, man, we're gonna be in a good spot offensively. It's a deep lineup. It's a deep roster from the position player side of things, from the pitching perspective. But yeah, I think it's always good, and we will continue to do that. Make sure that we're not chasing. Make sure that we're getting pitches to hit, and we're putting good swings on it.
I want to talk about what I think is one of the unsung heroes on this team, Luis Torrens. First of all, since he came over, his Mets debut June 2nd of last season, no catcher has a higher caught stealing rate in all of baseball than Luis. So he's controlling the running game. Don't run on him. But offensively also, last night on Saturday, doesn't start, a bit banged up, comes off the bench, gets the big hit in the 9th inning, gives the chance an opportunity to get that winning run across with the sac fly. How valuable is a guy like Luis Torrens on this roster?
Yeah, and he's a really good player, man. He's super valuable. Having a guy, you lose your starting guy on Alvi, and then you feel good about your chances. Like, all right, Luis is going to get an opportunity here. We saw it last year when he first came up, when we were struggling in May, and his impact right away, controlling in shutting down the running game from opposing teams. But then he'll give you quality at bats. His ability to lead a pitching staff, call games, make adjustments, the feel for the game is really, really good. And again, I'm gonna go back to the depth of this team. And Louis, man, I'm proud of him. That now again he's getting an opportunity and he's contributing big time.
I want to talk to you about Pete Alonso because, in between Pete Alonso's 2 games at Citi Field this year, we didn't know if he was going to come back. We didn't know if Pete Alonso was going to be a Met. Seeing Pete Alonso get the reception he got on opening day from the fans during the lineups, and then to deliver in a big moment, get that home run, the fans go absolutely crazy. How special has it been to watch Pete get off to this hot start and have this connection with the fans?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you said, in the off season where we didn't know what was going to happen, we finally got him, and then just for him to receive that ovation before opening day, opening ceremony here, and then first at bat, telling the fans, I'm here, setting the tone. That was pretty special. I know how special it is for Pete, for all of us in that dugout, in that clubhouse, but for the fan base, homegrown, he knows what it takes to play in New York. He knows what it means to put this uniform on. He wants to win, and I'm glad that he's off to a really good start. Because he's a big part of this team. It's not a secret. He's going to be hitting in the middle of the lineup. And when Pete is doing Pete things, is scary.
I'm going to be honest. I don't remember the last curtain call here. You really? Yeah. I mean, that was
pretty cool too.
That was such a great moment. Yeah, that was such a great moment.
On the home opener, and for him after one at bat, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I have a theory. I've shared this with Vito. You tell me if you agree. People talk about lineup protection and often say it's the guy that's hitting behind you. I think in this case, having a guy like Juan Soto in front of Pete Alonso is actually great protection for Pete because Juan's on base literally 4 out of every 10 times. Right. And when he's on base, no one wants to pitch around Pete because if they do, then there's a runner in scoring position. And just having to face Pete with runners on is an unpleasant thing. Do you agree with my theory?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to last year when, before we signed J.D. Martinez, people were talking about protection for Pete. I always said it. I was like, the way you protect Pete is by getting guys to get on base in front of him. I knew it. And then, here we are talking about Soto. And I'm telling you, if guys in front of Pete are getting on base, whether it's Lindor, Soto, who's elite, both of them, Pete's going to have a lot of chances here. And more times than not, he's going to come through. So that's a protection there. But not to mention, you got a Brandon Nimmo, you got a Winker, you got or Starling Mart. It's a deep lineup.
So we talked about the reaction to Pete with the ovation, with the curtain call. And then yesterday, 37,000 fans here in 27-degree weather? I think it got down to
I was in the control room. I was inside. I don't know. Was it cold down there?
It was cold. It was, but watching the fan yesterday, I'm sitting in the dugout and I'm like, this is a pretty good crowd here.
It was a playoff game last night, Mendy.
Yes, and then the countdown with the pitch clock, I'm like, this is great. So,
keep it up, guys.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't feel like the other guy, the other team, the guy on the mound don't feel it, they are feeling it, and because we are too, in a good way. So watching in the 8th inning, I don't know, it's 10 o'clock at night and it's freezing cold and we still got 35,000 people. That's pretty incredible. It's a good feeling. And that's what you want. This is, people talk about home field advantage. That's what we're talking about right there.
Last night's game was made possible large in part by the bullpen, which has been such a strength of this team. So first of all, I want to ask you general 30,000-foot view. What is making this bullpen so effective?
Yeah, I think trusting guys in any situation. And that was the messaging from day one. Like, hey, there's going to be times where your name will be called, whether we're up 6, down 4, up 1, tie game in the 9th, bases loaded. Like, your job is to come in, attack the strike zone, understanding your strength and trusting it. And that's what we're seeing so far. Guys getting the baseball, going out there, attacking the strike zone, having the awareness of the situation, whether you need to get a ground ball, whether you need to get a swing and miss. And look, it's a deep bullpen too. You got guys with different looks pitch shape, angles, righty, lefty, and as a manager, that's a good feeling to have. And when you got guys that can go multiple innings, whether it's a Max Kranick, a Jose Burro, Brazoban, those three guys, they've been huge for us in this early going.
Let's talk about Brazoban. Comes over last year, struggles a little bit, goes down. I know he's a guy with options, kind of the way it goes in this game. Comes to camp this year. Vito and I talked about him as a guy who we really thought was going to be a dark horse candidate to have a huge impact on the bullpen, and he is off to a great start. What differences are you seeing between 2024 Huáscar Brazoban and the guy we've seen so far this year?
Yeah, we're seeing a guy that is comfortable in New York. He knows what it takes, expectations, and he takes it hard. And I remember when we first got him last year, we were playing in Anaheim, and he gave up, I think it was a 3-run homer for Neto, and he took it really, really hard. And it took him a while to kind of recover because he felt like he let the team down, where we have pretty much all of his teammates, coming up to him after the game, and hey, we'll be all right. You'll be all right. But he took it very, very personal, and it took a lot longer. Now he's like I said, he has the awareness, a better understanding that, hey man, you're human. You're not gonna be perfect all the time, and he's adjusting very nice. Yeah, the option last year, and he still has an option this year. But he's a big part of this bullpen right now, and he will continue to be that way throughout the year.
So you mentioned pitch shape. I want to talk to you about Desi Druschel, who was brought in. I believe his job is one of the main functions is going to be helping guys with pitch shape. Can you talk to us about that working relationship with Jeremy Hefner and how they're collaborating together, how they're making this pitching staff as effective as it's been so far?
Yeah, it's been really, really good to see. They complement each other really well. They are both brilliant, super smart. But the one thing that makes those two who they are and elite pitching coaches is their touch to the human side of things. Understanding, getting to know the players, their personnel, who can take how much information and how you're going to deliver and how you're going to filter the numbers and all that. And Desi's doing that. Hef is doing that. Like I said, they complement each other. Rossi with the bullpen there. I feel like that's a strong group there. And I'm glad that Desi's on board. And, they fit right in, right away. You could see it from day one, the way they communicate, the way they prepare, how they see things. And, when you have four eyes or 6 eyes as opposed to just 2 from one guy, like, it helps. And like I said, guys are feeling it.
So this bullpen's been dominant, and as effective as a bullpen can be, there's another side of it, which the late inning Mets magic is back so far. I mean, we saw it with the triple from Jesse Winker last night. We saw it with the home run from Pete Alonso in Miami. That late inning magic is back, and the boys are attacking bullpens. Now, how do you approach a reliever differently from a starter? Like, how are you preparing for those at-bats?
Yeah, I think, when you're putting together a game plan against a starter, usually they got 3-4 pitches, 2 against lefties, 2 against righties. Is twice that you're gonna face in third time. Sometimes you're gonna face that guy. As bullpen, these guys are coming in with 2 pitches, and then you have to pick and say, okay, what's the situation? So there's a lot of different ways that you attack guys. But I'm just glad that we continue to grind at bats. We continue to create traffic. We continue to control the strike zone, and that's gonna be the key. So whether it's against a starter, whether it's against the bullpen arms. Finding ways to get the job done is a good feeling, and we've done that the past couple of games.
You talked about Jeff McNeil yesterday. Can you give us an update on Jeff and also an update on Ronny Mauricio, where he's at right now?
Yeah, Jeff is here. Continue with his baseball progression. He was scheduled to take batting practice on the field, but because of the weather, that's not happening. He's still indoors here in the cages, going through his routine. I think doing everything that he can, fielding ground balls, throwing, running, hitting. Hopefully he continues to trend that way, and we'll see him playing in rehab games here pretty shortly. Ronny Mauricio is down in Port St. Lucie. Same thing. The reports that we're getting, he's in a good place. He's in a good spot. he should start playing some extended games, simulating innings and more like baseball action now that he got through pretty much that phase where it's like, all right, ground balls at you, ground balls side to side, BP, live BP, running bases. Now it's like you got to go play. More on control environment in extended spring, like I said, and he's coming along.
Now I want to talk to you about speed. Last night, did you think what was your reaction? Did you think Jesse Winker had 2 triple speed?
Well, anything's possible with Jesse. He just if he gets everyone going, he's going to give you quality at bats, and but again, he's a better runner than what people think. So watching him yesterday coming through against the lefty and getting that huge one to tie the game, happy for him, and he's another guy that we're expecting a lot from him.
So you mentioned the lefty, and I was going to ask you about that. Jesse obviously stays in there against the lefty. You've got Brandon Nimmo, who for the last 4 or 5 years has been one of the best lefty hitters against lefty pitchers. And then you got Juan Soto, who you could throw left, right, middle, doesn't matter. It's tough to get Juan Soto out. How much does that help you as a manager, not having to worry about, damn, I need the platoon advantage every time, when you have these lefties who you feel comfortable with against southpaws?
Yeah, it definitely helps. And that's why you're seeing some of these version of our lineups where I'm hitting Winker back-to-back with Nimmo. There's going to be times where I feel good about the matchup left on left for Winker. There's going to be times where Marte will hit for him. Yesterday was a unique case where, like as you mentioned, Soto can hit anybody. Nimmo has been... throughout his career, he's very good against left-handed pitching. So they will continue to face a lot of lefties, but Winker too. He's a really good hitter, and like I said, there's going to be times where he's going to be you facing it. And I'm glad he came through yesterday. He's got a lot of good hitters. They're deep, and it's fun.
So we talked about opening day a little bit before, but we didn't talk about the guy in the mound, and Tylor Megill. Seeing that transformation of Tylor Megill becoming just this guy that is so dependable. And how many opening days is that now? This is his, third?
He started in D.C. on 2022 season opener. He pitched against the Marlins here, 2023 home opener, and Friday. So it's 3 opening days. Yeah.
Good for him. Look, no, I think we're seeing a version of a player that continues to mature, and all of the experience, all the ups and downs, struggle, stuff is there. We've seen it since he first came up to the big leagues. He's just finding that consistency of him throwing strikes, attacking the strike zone, keeping it simple. Because this is a guy that, after we've seen it, throws 5-6 pitches. But, let's narrow it down here. And what are the 2 best pitches against righties? What are your best 2-3 pitches against lefties? And he's done that. I'm counting on him. We're counting on him. Stuff is real, and he should be one of the best starters in this league.
You guys have won 8 straight games started by him, so I don't know if you knew that, going back to last year.
Let's keep it quiet.
Sorry. Maybe we'll cut that out, maybe.
Well, Carlos, thank you so much for joining us and Meet at the Apple. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And you can follow this podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. I'm on Twitter at Vito F. Calise, John at JMB9191. And Carlos, you can see at Citi Field when you're counting down those pitch clocks. See you guys here.
3, 2,
There you go.
1.
I'm going to be looking for the picture, too. All right.